Hello, welcome back to episode 4 of the Phil Show podcast. I'm Philip Eikemans, and it's that time again for a new one. And another one. Another episode. I hope you guys ready. I skipped the last one last week because I had other videos to make, and no one's going to notice anyway, so there's no one to check on that to make me accountable for that, but that's okay. Nonetheless, this is the Quattro Stagioni episode. I don't know, this doesn't make any sense, but I'm going to make it short this time because there's truly only one thing I want to talk about today. And I figured if that's the case, I don't need to prolong it unnecessarily. So this episode is going to be just about one thing and one thing only, and that's about Resident Evil Village, baby. Oh, yeah. I've seen a lot of trailers the last week or so, and I've always been a very huge fan of the Resident Evil series. In particular, Resident Evil 1 Remake and Resident Evil 4 are my favorite Resident Evil games of all time. And also, my favorite horror game of all time is Silent Hill 2, because it's super... it's a psychological horror, which is more nuanced. It's more... how would you say this? It invokes your fear around... It's more nuanced. It's psychological. It's more metaphorical. It has a very deep story that uses symbolism. The ludonarrative design is it's brilliant. And overall, I would say that's just a piece of art in general. Now, if you compare that to Resident Evil, it's kind of, it's very different. Like Resident Evil is more survival horror game that involves a lot of action elements. It's more actiony, and the fear, it has a different kind of fear that is being invoked as a player, or for the player, I should say. The fear around Resident Evil is more of a biological weapon fear. You know, the fear of biological weapons being used on us. It's a more of societal fear, right? So it's more grounded into real life events, or rather something that could happen in real life. That's what the fear is evolved around. Whereas Silent Hill is more psychological. It's more of a hero's journey kind of thing. It's more of the story writing style is more of a Dante's Inferno style. So for you who don't know that specific writing style, so Dante's Inferno was a story written by Dante Alighieri, and it's he's describing his own personal story, going through his own personal hell, fighting his own demons, confronting his own demons, seeing the darkest of the abyss, learning from his own demons, and becoming a better person and crawling out of it eventually. Now that's a very common story writing style that has been perpetuated in a lot of horror and stories in general. I could be completely wrong, but to me, it feels similar to the hero's journey, which is also a very cliche writing style that works really well. I think that Dante's Inferno for horrors work extremely well, and it's been used in Silent Hill 2 as well. But it's becoming more and more of a cliche nowadays. But I can respect both Silent Hill and Resident Evil for what they are. They're kind of different, and I'm not comparing them whatsoever. And I can enjoy them on different levels because they're different games. And that's what I love them for. I like that Resident Evil is eerie, has atmosphere, but it still contains that kind of an action-y feel. I like that about Resident Evil. And so seeing that Resident Evil Village is coming out made me super excited because, yeah, I want to see first they're making something completely unique this time, or not completely unique, but that feels pretty unique from what I've seen so far from their last releases. I'm personally more of a third-person perspective, like controlling my character and seeing my character from a third person. I enjoy that because I have a nostalgia for the PlayStation 2 era where a lot of these games were played that way. And I have more of nostalgia that way. I don't really enjoy the first person in horror or in general because to me in games, first person oftentimes feel like I'm controlling a mech. And I just enjoyed the look of a third person. That doesn't mean that Village is going to be bad, or I think it's going to be bad. I think that's not what I mean at all. I think still it could be an insanely awesome game from what I've seen, and there's a lot of interesting points to make about that. From what I've seen from the trailers and from the gameplay videos, there's a lot to uncover there because first of all, the first interesting thing, so they're reiterating the old engine or the same engine they used for Resident Evil 7 and I think the remakes as well. So they're keeping like the first person, like similar to Resident Evil 7, but there's a lot of moments, like for example inside the castle, where it felt really Resident Evil 1 remake, like the inside the mansion. It felt very similar, which is awesome. And then a lot of times, seeing that Transylvania-inspired environment, like around the farms and outside in general, really felt like Resident Evil 4 to me as well. Just because you're bringing back that European style again, and that's something you really love because it hits different, man. Just in other words, it just hits different when you see that bleak, grim, and eerie European farm. You just notice that you're somewhere where you do not belong. Somehow, European like old villages that still have those medieval like vibe with them still feel like pretty unwelcoming and like you don't belong there. I don't know what it is about it, but that looked really great to me. I love that about Resident Evil 4, where it's somewhere in Spain, and it had that like really bleak, grim vibe, like far around the farms. And the more you delve in, it gets to you get into castles, and then into mines and laboratory. The more you delve into it, the more you uncover what's going on about the cult, And I get that sense from Resident Evil Village as well, which is amazing. I love that, and I can't wait to see it. And I saw like the Fat Merchant, which is a great idea to bring like a quirky, endearing merchant. Like I enjoyed that about Resident Evil 4 as well. Just the juxtaposition alone of it, like you're in a terrible world where everything is against you and it's bleak, and like your moments of sanctuary, which is your safe point, which is a brilliant thing in and of itself. But then you also have like the quirky, endearing merchant as well, which really feels like a moment of rest. Like it brings kind of the tension of the world you're living in, which is very good. And not only that, like the character itself, like the way that it's designed, like the voice of the character. Hello, stranger. What are you buying? I buy from a high price. That guy. And characters like these can really bring out the charm of the world, which is a good idea. That's how you can make your horror game very that's how you can create fans of your horror game. I feel like when your world is not only when it's not bleak and heavy all the time, and then you inside that world you can have like very tiny moments of like sanctuary. That's very good. But then like let's talk now about the thing everyone's been talking about, the whole internet has been talking about, and like this giant vampire lady with huge titties. So my question was always, because I've been wondering, like, why did they go for that character design, and what is this decision behind, like, making quote unquote an attractive villain or antagonist, if you will, because like the same thing has been perpetuated by everyone, and there's memes around it, like everyone is gonna get more horny than they're gonna be scared, right? And there's a lot of truth to that, because whenever you cast an antagonist like that, like that's what players are going to perceive, right? And my question was always why. I've always been curious why they went to that for that character design. But I think that's eventually, the more I think about it, I think it's brilliant. I just figured out that it's actually kind of brilliant, because it makes, like, you've created something super iconic that makes everyone talk about it, and that does super well for the marketing. I don't think that was 100% intentional, and it's kind of hard to reproduce, like to reproduce it yourself, or like force it into your games. I think it's a kind of a natural process, but in the end, I think it's genius because everyone's going to talk about it, and you, like, intentionally or not, you're creating a character that's super iconic, and that is super powerful, because I bet you're going to be scared like shitless in a lot of moments in that game, but you have like a iconic villain that you can kind of love in a way, if you know what I mean. And that does super well for fans. Like, this is how you create fans, and this is how you market your game, like, in a genius way. Like, the same thing goes for Baby Yoda. I don't know how intentionally the design was for Baby Yoda, but whenever you create something iconic that does the marketing for you, that's genius. And so I think that's what they done with this character as well. And also, aside from this, from being a great marketing, it's also a great move to do something else, like something we haven't seen before. And that's exactly what this is inside the Resident Evil series. As far as I know, I haven't seen anything like this villain or antagonist in a Resident Evil game, which I think is refreshing, and it's new, and it's something that makes us excited about the game. Like, it's bringing something new to the table. I really love the remakes, the Resident Evil 2 and 3 remake, because I really loved the old original Resident Evil 2 and 3, because I played them. And I'm a very big sucker for, third-person survival horror like those. But I feel like people were getting tired of those, especially with the reusing the assets and stuff like that in Resident Evil 3 remake. People are getting kind of tired of those remakes, and so bringing something completely new and refreshing was the exact thing they should have done, and it's just a good move in general. I cannot say something else about it. It's just a good move in general. So these are my thoughts. I don't know. I love the character design. The huge amount of detail is I'm a very big fan of. Whenever our team does an extremely good job of bringing detail, authentic designs that make you really feel like you're involved with a cult, and you want to explore more and see what's behind that. You want to know. You want to know more about that, vampire lady and the world she lives in, and you want to know, especially not only because, the plot is written in that way, because Ethan Winters was looking for his daughter, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. So not only because of the plot you're willing to figure it out, but you as a player needs to want to figure things out as well. You need to be invested into that world, and they did an amazing job. And I think as artists, I think this is truly great. I think it's good that AAA games are doing really cool stuff, and this is one of the examples that I think can break a little bit of the monotony of AAA titles we've seen, and visually it's just feels good to my eyes, and I always enjoy seeing things like these. So yeah, that's it. These are all my thoughts that I wanted to talk about. It's been Resident Evil Village oriented, but that's what it was been on my mind. And so I hope you enjoyed this episode. To you two listeners, hey, two listeners, how about I see you on the next episode? This is gonna be it. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya.